Today we are checking out a bike that has received a ton of attention since it was released. This is the new Beta Explorer.
To start things off, we want to be clear with Beta's intention with this bike. The Explorer is the result of a joint venture with Apollo, the creator of RFN, a bike that we've previously tested. The Explorer is built to Beta's specifications, but they've made it clear that this is indeed a collaboration, and the bike is made for Beta by the Chinese motorcycle manufacturer. Beta sees the Explorer as an entry-level play bike designed to introduce new and existing riders to e-moto, and they were pretty clear to relay to us that they do not see this as a performance model. If you're putting this bike on an RV, riding it around camp, or using it as a play bike, as Beta intended that you would, then there really isn't much to converse over. It's an affordable, Chinese-made e-moto, and you should ride it as such. But we know that many of you, including ourselves, see the potential of riding this bike like an actual dirt bike. So, despite the intentions of the bike, we'll look a little more critically. With those expectations out in the open, let's see what this bike is all about. The Explorer has 3 modes: Turtle, Rabbit, and Rocket mode. The bike is putting out 12.5 kilowatts of peak power in Rocket mode, which unfortunately lasts only 10 seconds at a time. And the rest of the time, the bike is putting out a familiar 5 kilowatts of nominal power. The Explorer has a removable 74-volt, 35 amp-hour battery, KKE fork and shock, 19-inch front, and 18-inch rear wheel coming stock with Kenda tires, a seat height of 33.8 inches, and an overall weight of 150 pounds with the battery. Prices change over time, but the current price of the Beta Explorer is $5,200. Some interesting additional features are the flip-up seat that has some storage capacity and the adjustable foot pegs. On looks alone, I think this bike wins the most style points in this category. But style alone doesn't make or break the bike. So let's swing a leg over it and see how she goes.
Alright, so startup procedure on the Beta Explorer, similar to the RFN. Turn the key here, and you've got your display that will power up. At that point, you want to grab the brakes, and then it will say ready. You can see the legs on the Rabbit moving here. If I hit mode, it will go to the Turtle's legs moving. And so what I'm going to do right now, actually, because this bike still has the brake sensors connected, if you hold down the M button for mode for 10 seconds, it will deactivate the brake sensors, so you can be on the throttle and the brakes at the same time. So that's a nice feature. You see that flashing. That means that I've deactivated the brake sensors now, which is exactly what we want, because I like to ride that rear brake a little bit, kind of use it as a clutch. The other mode is this rocket on top here. You click this rocket mode right there. Now you see the rocket is propelling, so we've got rocket mode. It is brief. We'll start out with that. So rocket mode is definitely brief. Shut off on me pretty quick. Let's try it again. Okay, rocket mode. It's definitely fast. I'll be honest, I don't really understand rocket mode. It's so brief that it's like, I don't know why even bother having it. It is super fast for that brief second, but...
When riding in Rabbit mode, where you'll likely stay, the power output is fairly comparable to the rest of the competition. However, the power delivery could be a bit more refined. It currently feels like there's a fair amount of play in the throttle, which results in some throttle lag, which can make you feel a little disconnected to the bike.
hill climb action.
Another thing I noticed, at slow speeds, when I get the bike on a big rock or something steep, the power delivery has enough resistance that makes it hard to get the bike going. All of which can typically be cured with the controller or throttle tuning, but we're talking about the stock bike here. In the ergonomics department, I really like that you can squeeze this bike with the shrouds in the seat. It offers a lot more surface area than some of the competitors, and that makes it feel more like a mini dirt bike as opposed to a mountain bike. One of the first things I noticed when I tested the RFN was the low-feeling front end, and the Beta is no different. The bike has a bit of a stink bug effect, but let's be honest, pretty much all of the bikes in this weight class have that to some degree. The Beta just feels a little more pronounced. I think this bike could really benefit from either a 21-inch front wheel or an upgraded fork with a drop crown, or potentially both. The swing arm flexes a lot on this bike. It's so pronounced that you can visibly see it flex when you push on the rear end. We've put several fast riders on this bike, and although everyone that rode it noticed that flex, it didn't really bother any of us. In some ways, it actually helps the bike get traction because it's so compliant. It would definitely be interesting to stiffen it up and see how it compares. But again, a reminder that this is a play bike.
So it appears that the brake sensor override is as brief as rocket mode because it's still definitely delayed.
The brake sensors are definitely my biggest gripe with this bike. Even after the digital shutoff technique, they seem to eventually reactivate and come back to life. We even tried disconnecting the sensors, but that resulted in not being able to turn the bike on. So that's something that we hope to find a solution for, as it really impacts your riding experience. In the last video, I said that the RFN feels more like a play bike or a toy, and it makes sense that Beta would position the bike as such. However, I also said that despite this not being directed as a sport or high-performance model, I think this bike has a lot of potential to be a true contender in the lightweight e-moto space. All of these lightweight e-moto bikes require some type of modification to get them feeling correct. And I think with some correction, the Explorer could raise some eyebrows. But if you're here to throw it on your RV or just play around, then it'll do that just fine.